Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Shirley Roper. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Lesotho, in Maseru, from 1976 to 1978. My Sesotho name is Mema Tabo, and my son's name is Tabo. And I taught at NTTC in the English and reading departments. At that time, there were a lot of Peace Corps volunteers. I was a Peace Corps volunteer. My husband was a Peace Corps volunteer. I was in Maseru, and I lived in the flats on Holiday Inn Road, which I don't know the new name, but we found it the other day. It's on the way to the Avani Hotel. So that's a little bit about me.
Can you, when was the last time you were in Lesotho?
The last time I was in Lesotho was 1983. I came and brought my new baby, my daughter. I was on my way to Malawi, so I came down here, spent time with, in Lesotho with friends, and then went on to Malawi, where I stayed for the next 2 years.
Can you tell us an anecdote or a story about your time living in Lesotho? I'm trying to think of some things. Well, I know one of the things that happened was we did not travel as African Americans to South Africa because in protest, because South Africa it was during apartheid. And a lot of things that have, happened in South Africa, and I was here June 16th when the revolution started, way back in 1976, I think. And we had a great experience here. And this was my first time living in Africa with my husband and I both. And it was really good. My husband worked for a small business cooperative as a Peace Corps volunteer. And then they changed his job, and he started writing the national curriculum for early childhood education in the country of Lesotho. During your time back here, can you tell us what you've been doing?
I've been traveling and getting to see old friends. I had dinner, I had like 3 dinner parties with 3 different groups of friends, and I introduced my son. They hadn't seen him since he was a baby, and it was real great catching up with friends. I traveled around. I went up to TY, Tababusiu, and we were in Mauritius, and we have driven all around Maseru. And I can't recognize it because Maseru has expanded a lot in 43 years. And a lot of the places that exist now just didn't exist. There were no malls. They only had one grocery store, Frazier's grocery store. They had, I was here when the Victoria Hotel opened. I was here when when the Hilton was built, because I left Lesotho, went home, stayed home for 2 years, came back, and after I came back, my husband was Peace Corps staff at the time. We ended up, when we came back, there was a movie theater, the Hilton was built. There were a lot of little things that had changed. And now it's even bigger. There's a lot of areas that didn't exist when I was here.
What will you take with you when you go back to the U.S.?
I will take a lot of warm wishes and warm memories of all the Lesotho people who I've met along the way, all my friends, all my
Yeah, all my friends and all the people that I've met. It's all, and I'll always remember what a great time I had in this country. And I'm so proud that my son is now here working for the embassy. And I was so happy when he got the position and was able to come to Maseru, because I wanted him to know about how it was and meet some people that I know.
Hello, my name is Charles Blake, and I'm the U.S. Embassy's Public Affairs Officer here in Maseru. I've been on the ground roughly 6 months. I arrived with my family, my wife and my daughter, in August of last year. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences here. One of the main reasons I came to Lesotho, or I selected this job, was the fact that my parents had been Peace Corps volunteers here. And even as a child, I'd heard so many stories about their time here, their positive experiences, the friends that they've had and knew, and the things that they did. And I also grew up around a community of people in the United States who had lived and visited Lesotho and had spent significant amounts of time in Southern Africa. So when I saw that there was an opportunity to come here to work at the embassy, I jumped at it. My mom and my dad's experience in the Peace Corps, I think, influenced me. And for that reason, I actually joined the Peace Corps after university. I served in Tanzania as a volunteer from 2003 to 2005. And that's actually where I met my wife, who was also a volunteer at the same time. Coming back to Lesotho as an adult has been interesting, particularly interesting because of the ability that I've had to see the newest class of Peace Corps volunteers get sworn in since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. One of the highlights of the past 6 months since arriving here in Lesotho has been the opportunity to see the first class of Peace Corps volunteers be sworn in since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was great to be able to watch them, to see how amazing their Lesotho was, and also to learn a little bit about some of the programs that Peace Corps will be doing over the next few years in communities around Lesotho. I definitely look forward to engaging with them and with their communities in my work as well as I travel around the country doing projects related to public diplomacy in the region and even globally, and how that's really inspired me. One of the things that I would say that I've really enjoyed about this job is being able to engage with them through some of our exchange programs and interacting with them, a number of whom are grantees of the U.S. Embassy. That is, I would say, the highlight of my job here, and one of the main reasons why I love being a public diplomacy officer.